day 6 of the Genesis method. We only have 1 day left after this. We're in the first 6 days of the new year, the first 6 days of the Genesis method, following the 7 days of the creation story, modeling our life in these first 7 days, getting vision for our life, getting a kind of structure and order together for our life, not focusing on just making goals or making resolutions, but getting order and vision so we can really walk out the rest of this year, accomplishing the things that are in alignment with who God has made us to be. So we can end this year knowing that our life looks more and more like how God has destined us to walk, and we are looking more and more like we are fulfilling the promises that He's placed inside of us, reaching those dreams He's given us. So today we're going to talk about day 6 of creation. Remember, prior to this, we've gone through so many things. We've talked about our core motivators. We've gotten vision in 5 key areas of our life. That's our personal life, our home life, our work life, our area of creativity in our life, and our relational life. Then we've moved in. We talked about our personal harmony, our cadence, and our rhythm. We looked at how we were going to move. Just yesterday, we looked at taking dominion and having authority in our life, knowing who we are. Don't forget, we also talked about our MPGs, how we're going to maximize personal growth and really start to see things grow in our life. Well, today, our keyword for today is being a steward or stewardship over our life. We're basing this off of day 6 of creation. That's found in the very end of Genesis chapter 1, verses 24 through 31. And this part of the story of creation, on day 6, we see that God creates the living things, the beasts of the fields, the livestock, and He creates man. He starts off by creating the beasts of the field and livestock, those things that will come in and they will take part in all the other processes and all the other systems that God has placed before this. I think the order of creation is incredible, because you have to realize every single day God creates something that ultimately becomes codependent on the thing that was created the day before. And so He has such an evolving process that He makes. If He would have put man on the earth in the very beginning, man would have died by the time it got to day 6, because how would it have received nutrition, protein, water in the right way, or being governed by the moon or by the sun? Then He creates beasts, He creates livestock, He creates man. And so the final thing of His creation is man. He places man on the earth. So He puts the animals that will roam, that will live off of the earth, that will live off of the water, off of the plants. So then finally He puts livestock on the field, the predators that will eat, and the plants, the herbivores, the omnivores. He puts all those things, and then He finishes by putting mankind on the earth. And He does something really, really important. He gives 3 key commands in the very end of Genesis chapter 1. And He says this. He says, I want you to be fruitful, I want you to multiply, and I want you to subdue. And these are our key concepts for day 6. And looking at the vision of our life, we want to start to think about, what does it mean to be fruitful? What does it mean to multiply? And what does it mean to subdue? See, to be fruitful means to know that in every area of your life, the work that you're putting in is actually producing something. It's actually producing a fruit, an impact for other people. It's producing something that can be long lasting, that can have a longevity to it, that will help other people. Most importantly, to be fruitful means that the work of my hands, at the end of the day, I feel satisfied because I know that produced something that's going to add value to the world around me. So that's really our key. Being fruitful. At the end of the day, I know the work of my hands produce something that adds value to the world around me. So we want to start to think about, in what areas of our life are we being fruitful, or are we going to be fruitful this year? The second thing is to multiply. To multiply and to be fruitful are very different, because to multiply is to replicate one's self. To be fruitful has to do with, I'm producing something that will feed and have impact on the world around me. To multiply says, I'm going to reproduce me. So the first one is, I'm producing something that will help sustain the world around me, impact the world around me, and impact me. To multiply means I'm investing me of myself to multiply and recreate certain traits of me in another person or in an environment. So when I multiply, I'm actually mentoring, building up, or birthing something that will actually carry on the legacy of who I am. This equals sustainability. This equals legacy. To be fruitful is to sustain, have impact. To multiply is to release legacy to the world around you. And then to subdue means to have personal responsibility of those things that you have been entrusted with and created around you. And how are you going to have personal responsibility and take care of what's been entrusted to you? So when God gives this command to Adam and Eve on the sixth day, he says, hey, do something that will be sustainable to you, to the livestock, to the beasts, to the fish. Be fruitful. Don't just sit every day. Then he says, multiply. He says, leave a legacy, multiply yourselves, mentor, teach, grow, give back, sow into. Then the final thing he says is, be personally responsible, subdue the earth, take care of, be responsible for the garden, be responsible for the fish, how the world is starting to run and move together. So in our personal life, we want to look at this and these three categories. How am I being fruitful in my life? Or how am I actually bringing an impact to other people that will help them and keep them going and keep me going? The second one is multiply. How am I leaving a legacy for the world around me? How am I making an impact to the world around me that leaves that legacy? Not just sustaining them, but actually multiplying myself, the gifts that God has given me. Do I volunteer locally? Do I give of myself? Do I have kids that I'm investing in? Am I being kind to my children? Am I being loving to my children? Am I caring for them? And then finally, subdue. Am I being personally responsible in my life? Now, here's what I want you to do, because this is our last day, so this is kind of a big one. I want you to take each of these three categories: fruitful, multiply, subdue. And I want you to write a statement for each of these three under each of your 5 vision categories. So in my personal life, how am I being fruitful? How am I multiplying? How am I subduing? In the area of your home, how are you being fruitful? How are you multiplying? How are you subduing? In your work life, how are you fruitful, multiply, subdue? In the area of creativity, fruitful, multiply, subdue. And then in the area of relationships, fruitful, multiply, subdue. What you're really doing is you're taking that large vision statement you made on day 1, and now you're placing action statements underneath those on day 6. Now that you've figured out so many parts about who you are, your strengths, what you stand for, what are the consistencies in your life, today we're going to use these 3 templates to make action statements under each of our 5 vision categories. How am I going to be fruitful when it comes to myself personally? How am I going to have something that will be sustainable and produce something in my life that helps me sustain and helps other people be sustainable? So maybe a statement for you about being fruitful in your personal life is to say something like, I'm going to end each day taking stock of everything that I've just accomplished and checking off the ways that I know I can build even further on those tomorrow. See, that's just a simple example of a fruitful statement. But you can go through each one and say, how am I going to be fruitful? How am I going to multiply? How am I going to subdue? Once you write those, and I know that's going to be a lot of writing, but what you're really doing is you're getting this stuff in order so that from this you can launch and you can make what I call micro goals. Micro goals lead to big dreams. Now that's for another series and another time, but this is all helping you get great vision so you can really live one of your best years in 2020. And this, once you do this, you will be right in line with day 6 of creation, ready to go to day 7.